At a recent briefing, Prime Minister Philip Pierre claimed that the custody suites project has been delayed due to bathroom sinks and toilets breaking during shipment. Not just once, but twice.
There was a series of unfortunate events. Number one, there was supposed to have the toilets, the special toilets. They got broken. When in shipping. My information is they will send back to all the new ones, and then the yellow ones came back and they sent back the same broken ones. So my information, you see, and a lot.
But here's the truth. The sinks and toilets designed for prison facilities are made of stainless steel, built to withstand extreme conditions and nearly impossible to break in transit. The Prime Minister's claim doesn't add up. This project was initially estimated to cost $1.5 million. Somehow, that budget tripled to $4.5 million. And now there are reports that the costs have spiraled even higher. With every delay and excuse, taxpayers are forced to bear the burden of rising costs, while the government dodges accountability. Why isn't Prime Minister Pierre giving the people the truth about what's really causing the delays and escalating the costs? St. Lucia deserves a leader who takes responsibility, not one who resorts to dubious excuses.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of our Tuesday Press Briefing. I am Senator Joshua Harrow hosting this wonderful session this morning. And I would like to welcome those who are watching locally, regionally, and internationally. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for joining us. And even the hacks, thank you for the viewership. Now, this morning, we're going to be discussing something very important: crime. For those of you who may not know, our city was ablaze on Saturday, not evening, but morning, as we heard a lot of gunfire happening within the Castries Central Basin. Children, parents, elders, everyone was affected by this action. Trauma filled the air. We as a nation should be concerned. We must ask the questions: what is the government doing? What policies are they putting in place? What steps and measures are they going to take to ensure that the citizens of St. Lucia are protected by day and by night? People should not live in fear to do their due diligence, to go and buy their school books for their children, to go and shop and do what is necessary so that they can survive. Now, I can go on a tangent and I can go for hours upon hours discussing this. But we have two wonderful individuals here with us this morning to discuss crime. I would like to welcome the candidate for Castries North for the United Workers Party, a very powerful and prominent individual. I would like to call to the podium Mr. Stephen Favry to address you this morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Joshua. Good morning, St. Lucia. And let me take this opportunity to extend a warm welcome to those of you joining us from abroad. But before I start, allow me also to take this opportunity to extend heartfelt condolences to those bereaved families and to those touched by the senseless tragedy which took place in our streets on Saturday. What took place on Saturday in Castries, in St. Lucia, is a blot against the good name of our country. It was not a good day for St. Lucia. But let me be clear. While the overwhelming majority of St. Lucians are law-abiding, most of us God-fearing, there are some, for one reason or another, believe that the law does not apply to them. And regrettably, Saturday was a reflection of that reality. Criminals now feel emboldened, they feel empowered, they believe that the streets belong to them, And sadly, they now believe that with one phone call, they can evade justice by reaching their boss. But this is not altogether surprising when we see exhibits and evidence critical to the dispensation of justice, critical to the prosecution of cases, important cases, disappear from the custody of law enforcement. When the K9 unit, again established by the United Workers' Party administration to interdict contraband, including drugs and weapons, is disbanded. When Officer Tyson dies under mysterious and suspicious circumstances, when detection equipment at our ports is destroyed, leaving us exposed and vulnerable to those who mean to do us harm, allowing our streets to be flooded with weapons of war, assault weapons. But beyond providing the conditions for drugs and arms to flood our streets, this government has also condoned and is complicit in criminality. How can a government exercise moral authority when it has brought into cabinet a man accused of being a drug dealer and a money launderer? Someone that the Labour Party accused of those things and have admitted to having evidence pointing in that direction. Someone who was made persona non grata in the United States of America. Someone who was brought to court for firearms violations, including the improper use of a personal firearm. But also, and sadly, someone who on a weekly basis uses his platform to engage in the most vicious, vile, and misogynistic attack against women, our women. But as if that was not bad enough, it is the same government that has allowed questions related to maladministration as it relates to our CIP program to go unanswered, including and specifically the Labour Party government's involvement with elements implicated in transnational crime in Europe. It is the same government that has taken the opportunity not to support our hardworking police officers, but to instill fear, to reward bad behavior, to politicize promotions within the ranks of the police force. St. Lucia, this is not alarming. This is damning. It would appear that the institutions that we have reposed confidence in to safeguard our country, to safeguard us, to safeguard our institutions, and to ensure public trust is being daily undermined and systematically destroyed. St. Lucia, we are in trouble. And for those of us who believe that the victims of Saturday, Bloody Saturday, are not only those who lost their lives and who were injured, I say to you that we as a collective, we as a society, we as St. Lucia, we are all victims. It is the erosion of public trust and the fear that has gripped all of us. It is the trauma that bystanders and those who apprehended fear on Saturday are also victims. Some of us who now feel unsafe in spaces that should be safe and should be community-centered and welcoming, these are the victims. It will lead to long-lasting psychological effects on those who witness that tragedy. But the impact is also on business, on your right to earn an income and a living in this country. How many of us now feel uneasy to go to the market this coming Saturday? Think about it. In circumstances now where retailers, vendors, small businesses, craftspeople are already struggling in this country, what impact would this have on sales? Small businesses are the backbone of this economy. How could they thrive in Castries in a climate of fear? And the tourism sector, our leading economic driver, which contributes meaningfully to both economic activity generally, but also to employment. This epidemic of violence dents the reputation of St. Lucia as a safe place to visit. And if left unchecked, we will all suffer. The impact could be lower visitor arrivals and fear and apprehension of our tourists from visiting our city. It will impact also on social services. This crime puts additional strain on our already overburdened hospitals and law enforcement. So now that under this Philip JP administration, St. Lucia now has the dubious reputation of having the highest incidence of homicide in the world in any population under 200,000, what concrete measures will you take? On behalf of the people of St. Lucia, on behalf of this country, we demand answers to the following questions. What support is being given to the families who lost loved ones in this tragedy? What support is being given to those who witnessed that tragedy on Saturday? Have you engaged psychologists and counselors, particularly and in foremost to engage the youth who bore witness to this bloodshed? Will the government move to compensate those vendors who lost their daily earnings on Saturday as a consequence of this tragedy? What measures will be instituted to give confidence to the vendors and the general public next Saturday? Will you ensure there is a ramped up police presence at the market and in the central business district? Will the government commit to better lighting, better security, and the active use of CCTV cameras in commercial spaces downtown? And what is your plan for better community partnerships, including with the churches, which you've neglected, with the schools, with youth organization and youth groups, in addressing and finding the very root causes of this violence? And will your government commit to reintroducing prayers in our schools? We are a Christian nation, and we will continue to fail until and unless we put God first. Finally, Mr. Prime Minister, will you, Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, take the long overdue and responsible decision of immediately firing Richard Frederick from your cabinet? We are good people in St. Lucia. We are good people. We are honest people. And all we want is better for ourselves and our children. And hopefully that tomorrow is just a slightly little better than yesterday was. That is what we are, and that is what we want. But this government has failed on the most important and sacred and fundamental responsibility, which is our safety. I therefore call on this administration that if you are unwilling, incapable, or unable to take the needful and necessary steps to prevent us from a further slide into the abyss, dissolve Parliament now and let the people decide on what is best for themselves and this country that we so love. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Favre, the UWP candidate for Castries North. It shows that the United Workers' Party is concerned. Very powerful statements. And I want to share the sentiments as it pertains to the youth. Our children are going back to school very shortly. Have you asked the children how they feel for their safety in their institutions when they're going home and they're going to school? We then have to ask ourselves, was this tragedy that happened one of the first time of civil unrest in St. Lucia, or even potential acts of domestic terrorism? Mr. Prime Minister, you have a lot to answer for. So when you go to Parliament, make sure that the right bills are debated on national policy. And again, I can continue on a tangent. But there's another powerful person in this place that I want to welcome to the podium. They say he's the honorable. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome the honorable, and I like to speak future tense, the honorable Titus Preville, the UWP candidate for Babonneau, to the podium.
Thank you very much, Senator. Good morning, members of the press. Good morning, all viewers and listeners. Viewers in St. Lucia, in the region, and in the diaspora, meaning internationally further. This press briefing this morning on the matter of crime is a rather sober one, and you would have heard my colleague Stephen outline the circumstances that befell St. Lucia on Saturday, last Saturday, the 16th of August, where in broad daylight, a number of our people were gunned down. And I'm just discovering that the lady and son from Oleon who were shot are actually related to me, distantly but related. This is as close as these things get in a small society. Over the last 4 years, St. Lucians have borne witness to over 300 homicides. In the period 2022 to 2024, we had 72 homicides in 2022, 75 in 2023, 77 in 2024, and so far this year, 46. Now, the majority of these deaths have been gun-related. I dread to think we still have 4 months and 11 days to go in 2025. I think we can all agree that there is a serious problem in this country of approximately 180,000 people, especially when we are not in a state of civil war. We have a problem, folks. The brazen and deadly act of discharging weapons indiscriminately in a city where hundreds of innocent people are going about their peaceful business last Saturday speaks volumes to the nature and level of criminality that St. Lucia is facing today. You see, it is one thing for someone to exact revenge on another person who has done him some wrong. It is another thing entirely to be willing to kill, maim, and injure persons who you, the perpetrator, knows has done him no wrong. When these persons involve or include women, children, young ones, persons who are innocent. This speaks of a level of disregard, disrespect, and sheer callousness, and an absolute lack of appreciation for the value of human life. the perpetrator or perpetrators of such acts of violence seem to act in an almost inhuman manner. How could we have come to such a place? Hence, this calls for deep reflection on the socialization and formation processes in such a small country as St. Lucia that could have resulted in the creation of such persons amongst us. Everyone, every institution involved in the formation of our young people should undertake some serious reflection, identify where we have gone wrong, and develop remedial plans which must be implemented in a deliberate manner starting immediately. We are a proud nation of strong values. That these values have served us well. We know what has worked in the past. Let's be smart. Let us muster the will to stand by the things of value that are true to us. Let's do what it takes to rebuild the soul of our nation. Let's return to building on the cornerstones of society, the home, the school, the church. Let us teach our children who we are, who they are, and what we stand for. The problem we face is multifaceted, and hence the policy options to address this situation must likewise be diverse but coherent. From the outset, one thing is clear. The fact that most of the homicides are gun-related and that we do not produce guns in St. Lucia immediately speaks to the security of our borders. And border protection and security are the responsibility of the state, the responsibility of the government. We are aware that while it might be difficult to secure every cove that gives access to St. Lucian soil, the troubling fact remains that guns are coming into this country through our official ports of entry. There is no running away from this. The response must therefore include the obvious use of intelligence on the movement of cargo before it arrives into St. Lucia, the use of appropriate technology in screening cargo, including the use of sniffer dogs, and critically, the deployment of manpower at the points of entry who are committed to the safety of St. Lucia. Hence, there can be no excuses when screening equipment remains dysfunctional and faulty for months, and when members or at least one member of the K9 unit dies in police custody without explanation. Something is fundamentally wrong. Relatedly, there must be a concerted effort aimed at finding and retrieving the stock of illegal weapons in this country. This effort will require the involvement of households, civil society, business leaders in the community, as well as the political directorate. The effort will call for a testing of the integrity, character, and value system of many politicians, especially those who hold current public office. Those who, by virtue of their knowledge of their constituents, know and interact with persons who are involved in this illicit supply and distribution of illegal weapons. Weapons which are used to maim, kill, and hurt the very citizens that these politicians represent. The time has come for us to decide where we stand. Are we going to be part of the system that promotes life and not death? Peace and not division, or hope and not fear? The response to the situation that St. Lucia finds itself also requires the political directorate, especially the Prime Minister and his cabinet, to send a clear message of total rejection to the culture of violence. Prime Minister, this must be unequivocal. The government must appear strong and not soft on crime and criminality. There must be no semblance of regard or disregard for the rule of law or disrespect for the citizens of this country. That cannot come from the political directorate, especially the political directorate in office. Such behavior only helps create an environment of lawlessness which plays into the hands of the criminals. The United Workers' Party has, in previous press briefings on the matter of crime, outlined a number of measures that were implemented when we were last in government, and new measures that will be implemented when we regain office come the next general elections. Our approach will be multifaceted, deliberate, and inclusive. St. Lucia must regain its place as a country where peace is the order of the day and not the exception. Mothers, fathers, children, the business community must feel safe. Our safety will lead to the safety of visitors who comprise our critical tourism industry. Friends, have we stopped to think what all of this, the implications of all of this, not only for ourselves, but for the very economic livelihood of our people? We must therefore act with purpose and determination to make St. Lucia safe again. The opposition, United Workers' Party, has always been willing and ready to work with the government. Solutions have been offered in the past but rejected by the government. Prime Minister, it is still not too late to accept the offers that have been made. It is still not too late to act in a manner that will lead to the creation of a St. Lucia where our citizens, our people, our business community can feel safe. The onus is on you to demonstrate the leadership that the people of St. Lucia placed in you when your government was elected in 2021. If you are unable or unwilling to exercise that responsibility, Prime Minister, then you very well know what must be done. I thank you.
Thank you so much to, once again, the Honorable Titus Preville, the UWP candidate for Babono. Now, it would be remiss of me not to recognize Bradley Felix on his birthday today. A happy birthday to you, sir. Make sure you go underneath the parliamentary live today to wish him a happy birthday, and let's have a cheering celebration as we recognize the man who will once again win his seat for Choiseul Sortibus. Now, our candidates share the same sentiment of community. The same way we grew up knowing it takes a community to raise a child, it would take a community to bring Helen back into victory. Prime Minister, Helen is going through labor pains. My question is, how long are you going to allow her to go through labor pains before she gives birth to a prosperous future? Ring that bell. It is time to right the wrong. It is time for our youth to stand up and speak out. It is time for this nonsense of bullying that is taking place on air against women to end. Whether you're red or yellow, you are all St. Lucian. And this is injustice, and we must stand up for it. Ladies and gentlemen, we have come to the end of our Tuesday press briefing. I want to thank you for tuning in. I want to make sure that you share the live. Go in the comment section, join the conversation, and be part of the United Workers' Party's discussions. We have so much more coming. We cannot wait to bring it to you. I'm Senator Joshua Harrow. Let us right the wrong, and let us bring back Shas. Have a good afternoon and a good evening.